We're going to look at link keys now. A link key is an expression with a function curve attached to it. There are many ways to set the expression. If you right click on any animation divot, you can just set the expression in here. You can also just drag and drop from one divot to the other and the expression is applied, and it will do an equals expression, hence the little sign equals down here. That means as I drag this, the other one will update at the same time. Now a link key is very similar, but we can control the compensation, as it were, through a function curve. This is like a conditional expression. So if I want to drive the U subdivision through the radius, I'm going to drag and drop it onto here, but in this case I'm going to just type in L_FCV and put it in brackets like that. So now I have an equals expression, and what it should now do, if I just refresh this, there we go, it's turned into a link key. Now I can start to set the relative values on this. So if I were to say, if I pan back a bit, if the radius is quite small, say 1, then I'll have these at 4 as a relative value, so I will set that as a relative value. If I have a large radius, let's just go to say 12, maybe I want a few more subdivisions, in this case say 24, and I'm going to set that as a relative value. Now when I change the radius, it's changing the number of subdivisions. Now you notice it actually changes slightly when it went down to 3. Well, if we look at the animation editor, here is the function curve driving it. So it's like a condition, but here the function curve, because it's spline interpolated, is actually going dipping below the 4. So I can either make the whole curve linear, which is probably the best idea, like that. So now when we do it, there we go, we get a smoother interpolation. Now we can set a link key at any stage. Instead of having to drag and drop and type, we can of course do things like link with, and here I can link it with anything. I can link it within the same object or with another object. So if I were to get a cube here, and I'm just going to go back to this guy, to the sphere, and just say let's change the radius as well. So the end, I'm going to link with, say, the cube's local transform and its position in Y. Just going to pin this open, and now as I move the cube, let's just say I'm happy with it as it is. I'm going to set the relative values here. When I move it up, let's say go down to there, set that as a relative value. So now when I move the cube, I'm controlling this. So any two animatable parameters can be linked this way. I recommend using the drag and drop method and just typing in L_FCV, because otherwise at the moment we go through a transient explorer. So if I were to go here and do link with, I have this explorer and I can't pick it inside the UI. Another method, if I were to say want to link it with this, is that inside the UI it is buried very deep, so I'm actually just going to make it a group, which is just a temporary selection set for me. So now when I link with, if I need to do it manually, so I'm drinking a cup of coffee or something, I can go back to here. If I select it properly, there we go, link with, and I'm going to go to the group, and now I can say, okay, well let's have it as the kinematic local rotation in X. There we go. So now that I've set it, I don't need that group anymore. So it's just a tip in way to access it without having to drag and drop.